My name's Phil, welcome to Pilates. We're going to start today's class on our backs. If you want to have a lie down for me. And once you're onto your mat, we're going to bend these legs. So your feet are onto the mat, with the heels pretty much underneath the knees and feet about hip width apart. And then just starting off with our hands down by our sides. Now we'll start with a couple of basics for Pilates, one of them being the strength we need in our core. So we think about just gently bringing the belly button into the spine, putting that little squeeze into the glutes, and then connecting the tilt with these deep internal pelvic floor muscles. So we really hold this tension through this midsection. And I want you to try and hold this tension through the midsection as we move through this class. So it gives us not only a good stomach workout, but also protects our back. The other basic of Pilates we need to think about is our breathing. So we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And because we hold all this tension into the stomach, we need to breathe a little bit higher and wider. So let's have a go at that now. So nice deep breath in through the nose. Think about filling the chest cavity and then out through the mouth. So we're really feeling those lungs open up as we take those breaths in. Let's take a couple more nice big deep breaths there. So I want you to continue to try and breathe nice and high and wide as we move through this class. And we're going to try and link that breathing with our movement as well. So we're going to hold the stomach tight, hold the glutes tight, hold those pelvic floor muscles in. As we now take a gentle rock of the hips forwards. And we're going to create a little bit of space underneath the lower back as we do that. We then rock the hips back so we lose that gap, but our bum might just slightly lift away from the mat. And I want you just to slowly move forwards and backwards. And our breathing on this is in breath as we rock the hips forwards, out breath as we rock the hips back. So we're still holding this tension through the core and just mobilizing through the lower spine as we do this. Keeping our feet nicely planted on the mat. I want you to rock the hips back and this time let the bum lift. Push your feet into the floor and see if you can peel just a little bit of that lower spine away from the mat. And then roll the spine back down. Bum touches down. We rock the hips forwards again. And we're going to do the same again. We rock back. And this time we lift a little bit higher. So each time we lift a touch higher until eventually we find our full shoulder bridge, which is the highest point we can go, lifting those hips towards the ceiling. Still controlling our movements and really visualizing this spine being peeled away from the mat as we lift. And then rolling each piece back down into the mat as we lower. So let's just continue with this, getting a little higher each time until we're at the top. We should be feeling the back of the body warming up nicely here, so the lower back, the glutes, the hamstrings all working to lift us towards the ceiling. Let's just do one more of these. This time just holding for an extra second or so at the top if you can. Finding that tight, holding, and then rolling the spine down really nice and slowly. And then I want you to go back to rocking these hips forwards and backwards, increasing and decreasing that space underneath the lower back. And we're looking now to find what we call our neutral spine, which is just that natural curve in the lower back. So we keep moving these hips through the forwards and back movement. But I want you then to find the halfway point between the two. So our bum is down on the mat. We haven't got a big gap underneath the lower back, but we might just have a smallish space there, just that natural curve in the lower back. This is what we're looking for, so no big gap, but at the same time we're not lifting the bum. We find the halfway point, which gives us that strong natural curve through that lower spine. I want you to try and keep this position as we move into our next exercise, which is to start to warm up through the stomach muscles. So our hands are going to go to the side of the head. We lift the head, chin gently towards the chest, and we peel that upper spine away, pulling into the stomach muscles, just pausing at the top as we feel that tension in the stomach and then slowly lowering back down. So we're still holding that tension into our core as we were talking about a moment ago. And our breathing on this is out breath as we lift, in breath as we lower. And try to think about putting all the tension into the stomach muscles and not into the neck. Trying to keep the neck as relaxed as possible. And hopefully here we're starting to feel the warmth build into the front of the body now, into these stomach muscles. Let's see if we can get 2 more of these in. A little pause at the top as you fully exhale, and then a controlled lowering back down. One last time here again, maybe we hold for an extra second at the top, and then we lower slowly down. Bringing the hands down by your sides now. Still maintaining this neutral spine, still holding that tension through our core. We bring our legs into the air so that we have knees directly above your hips. And again, making sure that the weight of these legs isn't allowing the hips to rock forward. We still maintain this strong core position. And then from here, we're just going to slowly lower one foot down, just tapping the big toe down to the mat, keeping the other leg exactly where it is, and then return back into position. And do the same with the other side. It's a real light tap down there, so there's no fast movement. Slowly down on the out breath, returning on our in breath. Holding the tension through our core so that the lower back doesn't start to lift with the weight of these legs. And if you feel good at this, maybe you add a little extra challenge by pushing the feet out a little bit further, so it becomes more of a sole of the foot tap rather than a toe tap. Just making sure though that we're strong enough through those stomach muscles to stop those hips wanting to rock forwards. Keep breathing with the movement if you can. Really starting to feel these stomach muscles working now, hopefully. So find the level that's right for you, and let's see if we can get 1 or 2 more of these in to each leg before we just put those feet down to the floor and take a couple of moments to rest there, just to release the tension for a moment. Excellent. Now from here we're going to bring one knee into the body. Both hands go to the shin of this leg. Strong through the core, bum down, neutral spine. We're going to lift the other leg. Extend that leg fairly high into the air to begin with. And then if we can, we lift the upper body so the head comes towards the knee. If this is too much for you, rest the head down. And then we just change these legs over. In breath as one knee comes in, out breath as your other knee comes in. Slow, controlled, nice extension of the leg. Now the lower you go with this extending leg, the harder the exercise gets. So I'll leave that up to you how low you want to go, but just listen to your body. And if you want to make it harder still, we can take the hands off the shin and just place them to the side of the knee. Just breathe with the movements. In breath as one knee comes in, out breath with the other. Option to take the hands to the side of the head to give us some more upper body resistance, should you want it. So find a level that feels good for you. We might be back at this level 1 here. This is fine. Still feeling those stomach muscles working. Let's see if we can go for 1 or 2 more extensions to each leg. And once we've done our final one there, we place the feet to the floor. Just take a moment there. And then using the hands just to the side of you, just push yourself up to seated. And then we're straightening out these legs. And with the legs straight, we just flex the ankles, pointing the toes towards the ceiling. We're then taking our arms over the legs, bringing the chin into the chest, rocking the hips back, pulling the stomach muscles in and reaching forwards. So we create this C curve through the upper spine here. And then I want you to slowly fold forward, moving the hands towards the feet, wherever that might be for you. Just feel the stretch through the lower back, through the hamstrings, and just hold it here for me as we take a couple of nice big deep breaths in. Again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Now I want you to tighten through the legs, through those glutes, through those stomach muscles as we lift the head, lengthen through the spine, sit really nice and tall, shoulders back, look between the hands, and then we C-curve and we forward fold again. So in breath as we come all the way to the top. Sit tall at the top, out breath as we C-curve and forward fold. And just slowly moving from position to position. Feeling the stretch as we lean forwards, and we feel these deep core muscles working as we sit tall, trying to touch the ceiling with the top of the head. really trying to find some extra length in that spine as we move through our last couple of these. One more time, let's sit really tall at the top here. Let's hold it here. Breathe. 2 more breaths. All those deep core muscles working hard to hold us here. And then we can release. Excellent. Maybe give the shoulders a little bit of a roll out. Lovely. So we're going over onto your side now. So if you just want to take a moment just to lie down onto your side. And we're going to lengthen out. So the feet are pulled back in line with the body. This lower arm could be wherever you need it for head support. Top hand either in front of you or onto your thigh. And let's engage into those core muscles again. And all we're going to do here is lift both legs just a few inches off the mat. So we keep the feet together, we lift, we lengthen, and then we lower slowly back down. So we're breathing out as we lift, in as we lower. And being conscious on this one, it's not about how high you lift these legs, it's about finding resistance and then stretching through it. So we feel all these muscles down the side of the body and into the legs, really stretching out as we lift. If you feel that you are okay with balance on this one, hand can go to your thigh. Let's just make sure we keep those feet lined up nicely. And let's get 2 more of these in. One last time. Nice big stretch. Keep those feet together and release. Hand goes in front, knees bend. They bring the legs in towards the body. Just release a bit of tension from this waist and hip area as we do that. Then we're going to move on to some single leg lifts now. Now if you want to, you can keep this lower leg bent or you can straighten, whatever feels best for you. But I want you to think about this top leg being really active through all the muscles, from the glutes to the thighs, down to the lower leg. So really stretch it out, really keep it strong as we lift that top leg away from the lower leg and then lower down. So we're just lifting as high as you need to go, keeping your body still. Out breath on the lift, in breath as we lower. Just finding some resistance into the glutes and thighs on this top leg, but keeping the leg as long and strong as you can. Slow and steady, just pausing before you rest that foot down onto the lower leg. And let's get 2 or 3 more nice controlled lifts in. Good. And then once you've done your final one there, we bend the leg, we bring the knee into the body, just release this tension from the glutes and take a moment or 2 there. Good. Now we need to do the same on the other side. So let's just slowly bring ourselves up to seated. I want you to have your head the other end of the mat now, and then we can go on to our other side. So hopefully we now have the other leg on top. Again, use this arm wherever you need it to rest your head and support it. Top hand either in front, or if you felt okay with this, hand onto your thigh. Let's pull these legs back in line, nice big straight line all the way down the body. Holding our tension in here as we lift both legs into the air. Out breath lift, in breath lower. Let's just continue to find that length through the lower body. Not worrying about how high we lift these legs, but focusing on trying to touch the wall to the side of you with your toes. Again, if you need the hand onto the thigh just to create a little bit more instability and work those core muscles a little harder, feel free. Stay strong through those stomach muscles for me. Let's go for 2 more of these. Make sure those feet aren't sneaking forwards. And then we're going to do 1 more. Big stretch. Hand in front, bend those legs, knees in, and take a few seconds to release there. Okay, so we're going to move on to those single leg lifts again now. So let's really stretch out. Find that same position we started in. Remember, if you prefer though, you can have that leg bent. But with this top leg, let's lengthen it. Let's make it really active. And then lifting this leg into the air on the out breath and floating the leg back down. Now it might feel a little bit different on this side to it did on the other side, which is perfectly normal. You might feel like you've got a little bit more range of movement, or you might feel a little bit less, but that's fine. Just work with what you have on this side. Don't force it. Keep that body still. Let's continue to breathe out as we lift, in as we lower, and keep this leg strong all the time. And let's see if we can get 2 or 3 more of these in. Feeling the squeeze into the glutes still. Starting to feel that tension building. Stay under control all the time. And then on our last one, we lower down with control and bring the knee in. Take a few seconds to release. Okay, we're going to move on to a little bit of back work now. So I just want you to roll over onto your stomach for me. Once onto your stomach, bring the hands round so we rest the chin onto the fingers and just find a little bit of length in the body there. Now we make sure our stomach muscles are tight here. So we bring the belly button into the spine, squeeze into the glutes and keep your feet on the floor. Then from here, lifting the head, peeling this chest away, finding length in the spine, pausing for a moment, and then lowering back down. So we want to find some resistance in those back muscles. So try not to use those hands and arms to lift you. Let the back muscles do the work. So breathing out as we lift. In as you lower. Option here to make this a little harder by lifting those hands and arms away, to give us some extra resistance. But if you're doing this, make sure you're not throwing the body up into the air. We're slowly lifting the chest away. We're peeling that upper chest away from the mat and then floating back down. And a third option on this one, as we get to the top, we open the hands up, we squeeze the shoulder blades, bring the elbows close to the body, and then hands back in and we lower down. Still strong through those stomach muscles. I want you just to find the level that works best for you. And let's see if we can get 3 or 4 more of these lifts in. And once you've done your final one there, just relax down for a moment. Take a few seconds to breathe. And now, keeping the upper body relaxed, we continue to work the back muscles. I want you to really stretch these legs out, push the hips into the mat, and pull the stomach muscles in tight. And keeping the feet about hip width apart, we lift one leg away from the mat, but keep this hip down in contact with the mat. Lower down, do the same to the other side. Out breath, lift. In breath, lower. And again, a little bit like when we were on our side, this is not about how high you can lift these legs. This is about finding length at that point of resistance. And if this feels good, be careful with this though, but we lift both legs, peel the thighs away, but keep the hips down. Pull those stomach muscles in to protect the back. Out breath, lift and stretch. In breath, lower. Remember, if that feels too much, go back to your alternating leg lifts. Find the level that's right for you, and let's do 1 or 2 more of those. And then release the tension. Nearly there. We're going to bring our weight up onto our forearms now. Elbows tuck under the shoulders. Head is nicely over the hands. We're going to create lots of strength through this upper body area. And then we're going to engage into our core muscles once more as we lift the hips, peel the thighs, but keep the knees down here. This is our 3/4 plank position. You're welcome to stay here if you want to, or to make this harder, tuck the toes underneath, push one heel away, push the other heel away, and find this long, strong position. And because every muscle's working hard, we need to breathe to really feed those muscles with oxygen. So let's take some nice big deep breaths in. Remember, if this is too much, go to your knees. Let's take 2 or 3 more strong breaths in and controlled breaths out. Pulling those stomach muscles in all the time. And then we can relax those hips down. Excellent work. Coming all the way up to all fours now. We're just going to open the knees up. Big toes are touching. Let's just sit back over the heels and slide these hands away as we rest the head down to the mat. And I want you to just take 2 or 3 nice big deep breaths there. And then slowly lifting the head, bringing these hands under the shoulders and bringing yourself all the way around. Thank you, everybody. Well done.